I'm going to hit record. All right, we're midway. We forgot to hit record at the beginning. I can maybe record an intro and we'll come back and cut that in. But I was defending my own limitations and I I I told him absolutely I could not run. And he then asked a question and he said, "Have you even tried?" And I was I was so far removed from identifying as a runner that I immediately disqualified myself from that even being possible. And it was this life-changing moment because I went from not even being able to see the possibility of becoming a runner to seeing this entire new world of possibilities open up in front of me. Like, what else had I excluded myself from? Because he was right. Like I hadn't tried and I hadn't even thought about it. And so that was the start of my running journey. Um, and the first time I ran, I was living in an apartment complex and I just decided one day, like, yeah, I'm going to try it. I'm going to try running. And it was like a quarter mile, maybe, but it was around the block. I think it was like 5 to 10 minutes of running. I don't even think I had tennis shoes. Like, I don't even remember. And I thought that I was going to die. It was the hardest thing I'd ever done. And somehow I decided that I wanted to try it again after that. And so I started talking to people about becoming a runner. And I was met with a lot of, like, to my surprise, I was met with a lot of support instead of disbelief. Like, I immediately thought that people would agree with my limitations, that they would agree that I was not a runner and that I could not be a runner, but that was not the case. Um, I got invited to a local running group from my aunt because she was a runner. And I had a close friend who also wanted to start running together. And so we started this running journey together. I, one day by myself, before we had gone to the group, I ran from my apartment to my dad's house, and it was like 2 miles away. I ran there, and the plan was for him to drive me home afterwards. But when the time came, I was like, I think I can run home. And so I ran 4 miles. And it was this like another life-changing thing where was just kind of shattering these limitations that I had somehow created for myself. And running the 4 miles didn't feel as hard. It didn't feel as far as I thought it would. And most of it was downhill on the way back. So that was nice as well. Um, but I was starting to learn that what I believed that I could do greatly impacted what I was doing. And that's been true ever since. Um, Over the years, my distances with running kept increasing. So that first year I started running, I ended up doing a half marathon. And then within a few years, signed up for my first full road marathon and I did Chicago. Has anyone else done Chicago before, or is anyone doing it this year by chance? Um,
Heather's run Chicago.
oh, Heather's run Chicago? Cool.
Wherever you are, Heather.
Cool.
And then I think we've had some other athletes run it. I've not run it yet,
Mm.
but
Well, I did it. It was in 2010. A great race,
oh
but
yeah, Megan.
oh, Megan's
Sorry.
how cool. Oh, yeah. Nice. Yeah, it's such a great race. But as I was training and as I got closer to that race, and that was, a few years after I'd started running, what I didn't realize at the time is that my identity as a runner was very rigid. It required, I think, since I had gone from like not identifying as someone who could run to all of a sudden like breaking through all of these like mental barriers, I also had these expectations of being perfect and I had these expectations of being better and being faster. And, part of what it was that being a runner meant I ran the whole time. So I didn't take breaks. There was no walking, and I was consistently trying to get the fastest time possible, constantly chasing PRs. And eventually this softened. And one example I have is of two road marathons that I've run. So the first road marathon that I did in 2010 was the Chicago Marathon, and my time was 4 hours and 52 minutes. So I went out really hot. I was running fast. I was not trained properly. I had not thought about nutrition. I had not thought about electrolytes or hydration. I was running like 8-minute miles, which was not sustainable based on the training that I had done. I got to miraculously got to like mile 16 running, and then I just completely blew up. I finished the race, but I was like barely walking the rest of the way. I crossed the finish line. I was disappointed in myself. I was dejected. I was just like self-loathing and miserable feeling. Um, and also since I hadn't prepared physically with regards to nutrition, I just like physically felt bad too. So fast forward to 2024, and I that was the next time I did a road marathon. I'd done several trail ultra marathons between then because I transitioned to trail running. Um, but we had a friend ask my partner and I to do the Flying Pig in Cincinnati, and we wanted to. Robin, I see. Have you done that one? Yeah, that's a good race. And but our friend invited us, and we're like, yes, we'll come do the Flying Pig. And so my my mantra around that time, one of my personal mantras for strength and sustainability that I still have now is that I'll get there fast if I take it slow. And I had been mostly running trails, not as much road running, but I was like, this sounds like a fun experience. So I, it- the training for that was very different. I was already training for ultra distances on trail, and so I just kind of pivoted a little bit to start running more on road. And my races looked very different. I took walk breaks, I that were intentional and planned and strategic for what my body needs for longer runs. I pack food. I For that race, I had planned specific stops at aid stations instead of like doing that desperate walk to the next aid station, like when a race is really hard, which is what I did during the first marathon. I was just like dying until I got to that next mile to get water because I wasn't even carrying my own water to like, I did not have the preparation I needed for the first one. But in the Cincinnati race, I felt strong the entire race. I felt so good. I was in control. I was like, I stopped to go to the bathroom a couple times just because I needed to. And I was like, whatever, this is fine. I had a freezy pop that some sweet kiddo was handing outside of their house. And it was just a great race. Sprinted across the finish line, and my time was 4 hours and 50 minutes. I was only 2 minutes faster than that Chicago race. And I could not like it was kind of mind-blowing to me how different they felt. They were almost the same amount of time, but completely different experiences. And, obviously how I trained or my lack thereof training affected my performance, but my mindset going into each one did too. So last year in 2025, I decided that I wanted to do a 100K on trail. My favorite distance to run is a 50K on trail. That's just, I think, it's just my favorite one because it's still like really challenging, but in my experience, if I'm trained to where I know I need to be, it doesn't like completely destroy my body. The 100K is, even though I spent the entire year training, that one was really, really tough the couple days after. But my goal was to finish in 15 hours. I had hired a running coach, which I'd never done before. I didn't know Jess yet or this community, but I quickly learned the importance of having someone on my side to help me with strength training, knowing what workouts to do, and someone who had done the type of race that I wanted to do before. Um, and focusing on intentional nutrition during training, during the running, and even after. I ended up finishing the race in 17 hours, and it was an absolutely amazing experience. I would have finished quicker had I not spent 45 minutes in the bathroom crying before the last 10 miles because it was a looped course. And I actually felt I was like miles 30 to 45 were like the strongest I've ever felt running in my entire life. It was absolutely wild. And then when I got to mile like 45, I had this thing happen in my and I'll share this part with you because I think it ties to our identity in running, but also mindset. But I was at mile 45 and I started crying while I was running. And I had a pacer with me at that point, and I started crying because I was like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna finish this. I'm almost done. I'm gonna finish this. I've done it. Like I like thinking of where I started, thinking of all the things I've been through. And then with it, like a light switch. I'm sure y'all understand this moment with distance running. It went from that to then I was like, oh shit. I have like 17 miles left. And I was like, I'm not almost done. Like people train for years just to do this distance. And I'm like, I have a long way to go. And I totally got in my head within like 3 minutes. I tripped and I fell going on a downhill, and downhills are like my jam. Like I love running technical trails downhill. It's so much fun. And I was struggling for the next several minutes, and then that led me to crying in the bathroom. But I got back out there. I had a whole support crew, which was so, so important. Um, and the overall experience was just incredible. It was just one of like my top life moments was doing this race. And after that, after the race, I went to Florida. I went on vacation just to kind of treat myself and take some time off. It was lovely. And it was a December race. So just, that was really, really, it was actually physically good because the race was in the cold, and going down to warmer weather was actually good for my like my throat and my breathing. But when I started running again several weeks later, I had this pain in my foot. And anytime I have pain anywhere from running, I usually will just take some precautionary time off. And so that's what I did. But then I started running again and the pain was still there. Well, turns out I had some kind of ambiguous injury. It was diagnosed as likely tendinopathy. I did months of physical therapy, cost me a lot of money, a lot of time off my feet, and I wasn't able to run for several months this year. So I went from training and doing this 100K to barely moving my body at all. I quickly became very down, very depressed. I've been diagnosed with depressive disorders and depressive anxiety disorders in the past, and so what I was experiencing felt very familiar. And all of this was kind of settling in like January, February this year, and so that's also a time of year that can tend to feel a little down for me as well. We just moved into our house in Black Mountain, which was an exciting time, but I was feeling really a lot of, I guess, sadness would be the right word because we're like a mile from all the trails up in Montreat, and I was so excited to get out there, and I wasn't able to do it. Um, and so I was faced with something brand new this year, which was my identity without running. I didn't know who I was. I didn't realize how much of my life revolved around running and who I am as a runner, the structure of my days. Because when I'm training, my priorities are my physical health, and everything gets scheduled around that. The foods that I eat are, dependent, the way that I eat, the social calendar I maintain, and even the way that I socially interact with people. I didn't realize how much of my social life was like about running until it went away. So this year really I was faced with examining how I was unknowingly attached to being a runner, how much my self-worth was tied up in it, how I felt and saw myself physically. I've gained 15 to 20 pounds this year because my eating didn't change, but my activity did. And so there's been like my like negative body image and all these things, and I might be experiencing perimenopause, I like, and just like changes in my hormones, and there's just like a lot happening. And I was luckily able to get in the gym to do some strength training, ride my bike indoors, and eventually cycle outdoors. But some really great things started to happen too. I joined a gym for the first time in years, and I joined, for any of you local to the like Brevard, Asheville area, I joined Cultivate in Asheville, and it's an amazing gym. And so I really enjoyed doing that. I started going to yoga classes. I'm a yoga instructor, so I usually either self-practice or I'm teaching. And so, going to classes again was a nice treat. And I started saying yes to things that I normally wouldn't have. I don't know if any of y'all will relate to this, but I started saying yes to events and doing fun stuff on Friday nights. Um, I usually, Friday nights were reserved for like cooking at home, going to bed early so I can get up and run like 2 to 5 hours the next day or whatever it may be. And I had signed in March specifically, I had signed up for the Heartbreaker race um, out in Old Fort and that started in Old Fort. And since I wasn't able to do it, there was an event happening the night before, a filmmaking event. And I was like, I really want to go to that. And so I ended up going, which is something I would not have done had I been doing the race, because I would have been going to bed early, getting everything prepped and ready to go. But I stayed out until midnight that night. And I go to bed like 8 or 9. And that's how I like it. And so I stayed out till midnight, but I had so much fun. And I hadn't had that much fun like that in a while. I met a new friend. She's also a runner. And so we're going to start running together, but I don't know that I would have met her otherwise. Um, so, throughout all of this process, I learned and am still learning because I'm still in the season of coming back from an injury. I started running again in July, which was just last month. And it's very different for me because I still have a little bit of pain every now and then. And so um, I've kind of changed my outlook on what my goals are with fitness and running. But I'm learning and have learned to affirm myself in whatever identity I want to claim within it. Because even though I wasn't able to run for several months, I'm still a runner and I still get to call myself a runner. And throughout it, my relationship with running has just changed and my relationship to myself has changed too. So I believe that each of us gets to decide what being a runner or an athlete means to each of us. Like only we can decide that for ourselves. And only we can decide what we want our race to be, or we want our race to feel like, or we want it to look like. And it gets to be amazing and we get to celebrate, even if we don't make the PR, even if that was our goal. I know for me, like the first marathon I did, I could have celebrated, even though it didn't go the way I wanted, I still could have celebrated that I finished it because it was still a big deal. And, so if I just want to encourage anyone, and I still am encouraging myself too, to know that like if I'm in a season or you're in a season where you're not able to run or you're not able to train like you want for any reason, even if it's a good reason, then I just want to affirm that you're still a runner. I'm still a runner. And to be sure to keep your eyes and heart open for whatever else might be trying to reach you in that season instead. Because it's all so important. It's all trying to teach us something. And I think that the down times are part of being a runner too. So yeah, that is that is everything I had to share for now.
All right. Thank you for sharing that, Leslie. I actually can relate. When I first started running, I too ran a quarter mile around the block without
Mhm.
running shoes and almost died. And then ran my first marathon and then crashed and burned. It
Yeah.
was yeah, and I did not celebrate it. I didn't. I was grumpy, and I had a similar marathon experience this past year doing the Asheville Marathon, which I wasn't. I mean, I kind of trained, but my life's been in serious transition. Um, and instead of celebrating that I showed up, I later was able to correct the mindset. But in the moment, I was grumpy. I was miserable. I was really disappointed with myself. Um, and that just, it's like, what do they say? They say, is it attachment is the source of your misery? I might be
Mm.
completely quoting that incorrectly. It's by some famous guru, wise guy, and I'm blanking on his name. But it's in the book Untethered Soul. So it wasn't written by that author, but he was
Oh, yeah.
quoting a guru. It's called The Untethered Soul. And and it hit me. It's like our suffering is literally our own doing in those kinds of cases when it comes to how we choose to experience a situation. So, and we're just creating misery for ourselves. So I thankfully had my team there and was able to kind of shift my mindset later.
Mhm.
Um, but when I think about identity as a runner, I couldn't run after my third child. I couldn't run through the second half of that pregnancy with her because I experienced severe hip issues. And that's when I would say my identity just like imploded.
Mm,
Suddenly, like what you say, my schedule had changed. It's not just about the run, it's how you cultivate your entire lifestyle around getting up, eating healthy, doing all the things that you want to do within your control. And I think that identity gives us the power of control. Suddenly, we're not in control.
yeah.
Okay. And I think that's where attachment leads to misery because suddenly we are not in control. And I am not in control 90% of the time now, actually 100% of the time. So to find, to find joy in the season of not physically running, we can't. What's been helpful for me is to say, I am Jessica. I am someone who runs versus I'm Jessica the runner. Um, or like I'm Jessica and I have children that I mother. I'm not the mother. Like
Mm,
I am just I am, right? Um, and so when I learned to detach from that identity completely, I was able to enjoy the sport when I came back more, except for that marathon in Asheville. But this year was different. So I'm giving myself some grace there. Yeah. And I oddly enough, 2 years ago is when I had my massive 10K breakthrough when I stopped training so rigidly. I literally went to the woods for 5 weeks and just ran uphill. I just ran. And I had a 90-second PR for the 10K that I hadn't broken in years. And 90 seconds for the 10K, I think is pretty huge. And what I had done, I did do some training, but 5 weeks out from that is when I just made the pivot to say, you know what, I'm just going to go enjoy running uphill for the sake of running. And when I ran from a place of joy, from a place of identity of I am somebody who is running because I want to, everything changed. Now I am jonesing to get back into structure to train for Houston because I still have not broken 3 in the marathon. Okay. I do want the identity of a sub 3 marathoner. Okay. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, it's all love and light all the time. No, I'm a little hungry. Like, I think there has to be this delicate balance of I am Jessica who runs and I am Jessica who wants to chase these goals, but I am not the goal and I am not that run and I am not that experience. I am a person who is enjoying the experience. And I think having that mindset is going to help me when it comes to back to okay, it's time to structure, which actually I think structured training for me for the 22 training week actually starts next week. I better get on that. So anyway, um, so that's been helpful for me. So in the off season, I did the PT, spent all the money and did all the things, and the hip stopped hurting actually when I left my ex-husband.
mm,
Apparently, my body was holding stress in the pelvic floor, which was pulling on the hip. And then once the stress dissipated, and then I noticed anytime I had to go back to court or whatever, that stress would tighten back up and the hip would start hurting again. So I think it's just like we got to manage our internal world, which is the hardest thing to do. I think like we can control going out for a run, eating our healthy food, but can you control your inner dialogue? Can you control your inner energy when things on the outside like aren't matching up? Like you're not running, so can we control how we still feel about ourselves on the inside? And I think that has been what's held the hardest thing hands down for me, even still today. So I will journal, I will talk about it with a friend, and like Leslie said, it opens your world up. So instead of saying, oh, I can't run, we shift to what can I do now? What
mm.
can I welcome into my life? So with anything in life, just take that away, whether you're talking about a spouse, finances, career, whatever, instead of looking at what you can't do right now or what you don't have, which is something I'm still struggling with my mindset, but something that does help is what can I do? Right. So rest is a part of training. PT is a part of training. Cycling, swimming is all a part of training. Being a human is training. That's the hardest part, being a human. I was like, hey, aliens, I heard y'all were real. Can we tap out now? I'm done. I ain't seen a UFO yet. The government lied to me. I was supposed to go home. um, so yeah, I would love to open up. Do you have any questions to ask or like any then you wanted to open the floor to discussion to the squad in particular, or does anybody have like any questions up until this point in general? Feel free to like unmute and ask or drop in the comments or the chats. Keep forgetting to look at that. Regulating our reality. Oh, that's good.
I love
Houston,
that.
yes. Houston's gonna be it, babies.
It is
Y'all stay
Houston.
on. Y'all stay. Houston is January. What is it? January 17th, and 17 is my
Okay,
lucky number.
that's right.
Okay, so y'all stay on me on Strava. Okay, be like, is she fucking around in the woods or is she actually training? No, I'm just kidding. A little bit of both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of both.
Yeah. So, does anybody have any questions up until this point about navigating any situations in your life right now? Or have you ever struggled with identity as a runner?
Oh, never. Right. Yeah, I so appreciate you talking about identity. Usually in any running circle now, I'm the oldest person, and I run with a group of women at 5:15 in the morning, as many mornings a week as I can stand to get up that early. And I was running with a young one. She just remarried for the second time, and we were chatting. She goes, "Well, how old are you?" And I said, "Well, I'll be 65 next month." And she said, "That's so great. You're still running." And it's like, and I just chuckled because perspective is everything, and I love what you're talking about. And I was an athlete, a gifted runner early in life, and then I had a 25-year hiatus with a neck injury, right? And so coming back, it's like, who am I now? And Jess, you know a lot of the story, and I think that part of what has freed me is just this continual curiosity about who am I now in this moment, in this run, right? And I'm a data nerd, and I kind of chase the metrics, not because I want to go down a rabbit hole, because I want to be set free to love the thing I love, right? And to have all the support I can have. But yet ultimately, it's like just the love of the ground and moving beneath my feet in a world that I get to live in, right? And so I'm just really appreciating um, where y'all are going and what you're sharing. Thank
Oh
you.
man, see, that's such a good response. I'm over here like asking the UFOs to take me away, and Robin's like, "I'm grateful to be here." I could take a cue. I could take
I think it's both, isn't it? Like I'm older than you are, as I just said. It's like, there's those Calgon "Take Me Away" commercials. Y'all are way too young to know those, but
Oh no, I know.
You can Google
I
them.
I saw
Yeah,
him. I
it's a
saw him.
thing. Yeah, it's like, in any given day, especially when things are really tough, and every major area of my life right now is up for grabs. And just the human craving for certainty and relevance and belonging, right? That just craving and urge. And when I have absolutely no say in the outcome of what's coming next in all these major areas of my life, and to be able to just hold presence, to be grateful, to be curious, and also to be honest about how hard it is. So, telling myself the truth, I think that might be the biggest, hurdle yet. So,
I love
Thank
that.
you for sharing that, Robin.
I'd love to hear Robin do a talk too.
Oh, she would do a great talk.
Yeah,
She is a professional superwoman. Yes, professional superwoman.
I feel that.
Mhm. And I know Nicole came back from injury and slayed a 10K and managed some inner demons, but managed them pretty well.
Yeah, that was really hard having to let go of. I trained through something that I shouldn't have been training through, and it ended up in a fracture. And the thought of leaving the what like the this is who I am, this is what I do, was really hard. But Jess walked me through that, and I had a really kind of slow, steady build back, and I did against all odds, I guess, running only easy pace PR by a minute in the 10K. And then before I even met Jess, I struggled with some like autoimmune and other like health issues. It's a really long story. I'll save everyone that, but I stopped. I was a very avid triathlete, Ironman, half Ironmans. I had to stop it all. I walked away in 2014. And so there was a long stretch of my life where I couldn't do any of it. And being able to do it again and just being so grateful for having it back, but then also experiencing the little hiccups where it can't be your whole self because you have to have something left. You can't do it. So trying to explore other interests and do other things so I can have something so I don't rely so heavily on that.
Yeah. And now she's back to loving triathlon and swimming.
And taking Amanda with me.
Taking Amanda. I was telling Robin earlier that you and Robin, Nicole and Robin, she just sent me this like data thing. I was like, oh my God, her and Nicole need to connect because
When you said data, yeah.
She's our data girl. Okay. So if I was to match make you, it would be with Nicole. So I did not read through that whole PDF yet, but I looked at it real quick and I was like, what?
What
I
kind
am
of data? What kind of data do we have?
the data. Robin?
Yeah, well, you're happy to share it. Yeah, my son is, so I introduced him to Claude. I've been using Claude since Seth Godin, who's a kind of a thinker that I follow and really respect, mentioned Claude several years ago. And so I've been on Claude, and so I introduced my son to it, and he was using Chat GPT, and I'm like, oh, you need to meet Claude. But he's now become like this deep dive expert in Claude code. And I was actually uploading my runs in like screen grabs from Garmin or Strava and saying, break this down for me, what's going on. And it was super costly. It was clunky. And so my son's like, oh God, don't ever feed it that. So let's just have a session. He set me up, and the metrics are incredible. Every run that I've done since I returned to running in March of 25, which is when I met Jess when I signed up for RAD in Asheville in June of last year. And so it just breaks everything down. So I'd just be happy to share it with you. But what I love about it is that it takes everything, and it's just empowered me to feel supported in kind of the nuances that I think a lot of the things live in. We talk about like kind of these macros of our approach, which I think are so important, but there's also those micro adjustments that end up being all the macros over time. And it just kind of set me free to not have to like wonder what I'm missing, because it's making sure I don't miss anything. But in a holistic way that gives me actionable things to actually, like, what am I going to do on my long run on Sunday? I know. What am I going to do on my 800s? I know. And so that's been really just incredibly helpful. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm happy to share it with you, if you have
Yes,
an
please.
okay.
Yes, please.
I'll forward her the email. So yeah. Um, but yeah. Do we have any other questions? Like any other random questions aside from runner's identity or anything we've yeah, no, we good?
Well, I'm
It's head
curious, what is your dream or hope, or what was your kind of your why for starting this program? I mean, I was really curious. You sent that great email. I love you. I love your emails. But I'm just curious, like, tell us what. Yeah.
the one I just emailed out. It's what's been sitting in my Google Drive since last year when I first learned about Reiki. And then I took the Reiki course. And then I was like, oh, what if I did Reiki and running? Because it sounded cool. And then if you go on my Instagram page, you'll see I made a post for for 7 of the chakras. Apparently there's like way more than 7 chakras, but I haven't gone that far down that rabbit hole. And I found it really, really interesting on how like our energy centers, like from the root, how stable do you feel? And the mantras that I give runners, like Megan has told me, it has helped her tremendously out on runs. For her, I was like green trees, blue skies. Like it helped ground her. And then running from your sacral chakra, and then running from your solar plexus, which is joy and courage and confidence in your heart. Like I just thought I the reason I wanted to coach in the first place was to help change people's lives, because I went from a nobody to who I thought was a nobody, a failure. I didn't finish college. I got pregnant out of high school. I never finished anything, but I finished a 5K, and that changed everything. And so, and then I went through counseling and all. So like when I coach people, yeah, you run PRs. That's great. That's good for the gram. But what I'm more concerned about is like, how are you? Like if you like, for example, if you were never a runner again, would you still be mentally okay? Because I went down the not running and was not mentally okay. So I had to change something in my life. So I started that. I have a blog post for all of it. And I was like, you know what? People really resonate when I do one-on-one calls with them, or like when I upload a Monday motivational thing, they're like, that helped me so much. And like, what if I just like put it all together? And I created the so the aligned athlete had nothing to do with the Reiki posts. Like they were two different things. But when I started looking at them together, I was like, they actually go together. It's like three different puzzle pieces. So, and then that way I could coach more people at one time, and still help the masses and not be as expensive per month as one-on-one coaching would be. So, and plus, I have also heard that I met so and so because of you. So even if like I don't coach you, you met somebody that you connected with, and that's my job. If my job here on earth was only to bring people together and for them to excel in their life and then to level up in their life, then my job is done. Again, take me home. I'm done. Why am I still on earth? I'm tired.
The universe is not finished with you yet.
But so yeah, that's why I just that was a lot of reasons. So, and I've been kind of lazy. I was like, I've been not lazy, but like I'm doing the same thing over and over. Something has to change. So yeah, and sometimes I get random ideas. So BF, aw, yeah, y'all are BFFs. Everybody needs a best friend. Yeah. All right, ladies. Well, if that is it, we will let you go on about your merry Friday night. Um, Party like it's 1995, or go to bed at 8:30 for your long run on Saturday. Thank you, Leslie, for having us, or for you having us. Yes. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I was gonna say same thing. Thank you for having me. It was so nice to meet everybody, and I hope to see everybody on future calls.
Yeah, this was a good turnout, I think. So, all right, Leslie, Robin, Nicole, Amanda, Michelle, and Heather. Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.